My name's Marcus Delaney. I'm 34 and I live, or used to live, in Austin, Texas. I never expected to write something like this. I'm not a put my business online kind of guy, but sometimes the truth gets too heavy to carry in silence. So here it is. When my mom passed from breast cancer 3 years ago, everything changed overnight. She was the heart of our family. Quiet, soft-spoken, always the one making peace. After her funeral, I found myself standing in my 2-bedroom apartment with 2 grown men, my dad and my younger brother Jaden, looking at me like I was supposed to fix it all. And I did. I sold that apartment, took every penny of my savings, and put a down payment on a 4-bedroom house on the east side. Not some mansion, but a solid place with a little yard and enough room for everyone to heal together, as my mom would have wanted. Dad was retired early from the force. He says by choice, I say, because his temper got the best of him too many times. Jaden was 27, still figuring things out after leaving his 3rd job in less than a year. No real skills, no degree, but plenty of confidence. I figured giving them stability would help. So I covered everything. Mortgage, utilities, groceries. Jaden's car broke down. I co-signed on a used truck. Dad had credit card debt. I paid it off so collectors would stop calling the house. At one point, I was putting over 70% of my paycheck into keeping that roof over all our heads. Everyone around me said I was being too generous. But I wasn't trying to be generous. I was trying to hold my family together. Because when Mom died, it felt like if I didn't, nobody would. At first, I thought we were doing okay. Jaden said he was working on a business idea, a sneaker resale site, and asked if I could help him build the website. I spent a whole weekend coding it. No thank you. Just a shrug and, yeah, it's all right. Dad mostly watched old westerns, grilled in the backyard, and complained about how soft everyone's gotten these days. He said he was looking for part-time work, but I never once saw him submit a job app. Still, I let it go. Then came last Saturday. My friend Miles from work came over for a cookout. He hadn't met my family before. He's a good dude. Ex-Navy, no filter, but respectful. We were talking in the kitchen while I put away the last of the burgers when I heard Jaden outside bragging to one of his friends. Man, this place is sick. And Dad? He's chill now. Real MVP for buying it. Wait, didn't your brother— Nah. Jaden cut him off. Marcus is just crashing with us while he figures his life out. I froze. Crashing? In the house I bought? Furnished? Paid taxes on? Miles looked at me and said, "He's joking, right?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. It got worse. Later that night, I was grabbing a beer from the fridge when I overheard my dad talking to Miles outside by the grill. They didn't know I'd come out through the garage. "Marcus is a good kid," Dad said, flipping ribs. "But I'll tell you, sometimes I wonder what it would have been like to have a son I could actually talk to. Someone normal. Someone who didn't turn out so rigid." Then he laughed. Loud. Like it was a punchline. And Miles, bless him, didn't say a word. Just nodded, like he was embarrassed for both of us. I stood there, staring at the man who raised me, the man I took in when he had nowhere else to go. And all I could think was, you're eating ribs in a backyard I paid for? Drinking beer I bought? Talking shit about me like I'm a tenant you regret. I didn't say anything that night. Not to Jaden. Not to Dad. But the next morning, I called my bank. And I made a quiet, simple decision that's going to flip their world upside down. I didn't say a word the next morning. Not at breakfast. Not when Jaden came down in my old college hoodie asking if I had cash for gas. I just smiled and said, "Nah, man. You should check the glove box." The gas card was still there. Of course it was. He grinned, said, "You're the best," and walked out whistling. I went upstairs, locked my bedroom door, and pulled out my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, just that I needed to start somewhere. I opened a doc and titled it, "Things I've Paid For Without Being Asked." It was supposed to be just a list, but by line 5, my hands were shaking. minus 6,700, down payment on the house minus 42,000, Dad's medical debt minus 3,800, Jaden's truck, cosign plus 3 missed payments I quietly covered, minus $350 per month times 12 months. Groceries, $99 a month. Dad's gym he doesn't use, $4,200. Backyard grill plus patio furniture for Dad's birthday, that he said wasn't really his taste, $800. Jaden's laptop for business, mostly used for gaming. And it went on. By the time I hit line 30, I realized I'd spent over $80,000 in less than 3 years, without a single thank you card. Not one. My friend Miles called that afternoon, said he'd been thinking about Saturday night and asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine. He didn't believe me. "You know what pissed me off?" he said. "It wasn't your dad being a jerk. That's kind of his brand, right? But your brother, pretending this is all his? That you're just squatting in your own damn house?" I didn't answer, because the worst part was, I'd gotten used to it. Used to Jaden forgetting to say thank you. Used to Dad pretending I didn't exist unless something needed fixing. Used to birthdays where the only gift I got was being left alone to relax. Used to being invisible in my own home. 2 days later was my birthday. I didn't expect much. But I guess a part of me still hoped. Jaden texted around noon. "You gonna be home tonight? Keith and I want to use the TV for the game." No happy birthday. Nothing from Dad. When I got home, the living room was a mess. Takeout containers, beer cans, sneakers on my coffee table. Jaden and his friend Keith were screaming at the screen, Xbox controllers in hand. I just stood there. No one even looked up. I cleared my throat. "Hey!" Jaden finally turned. "Yo, can you grab more wings? We're out." I didn't move. He blinked. "What?" "It's my birthday," I said. Jaden paused, then laughed. "Oh, damn. For real? Happy birthday, bro." He elbowed Keith. "We should have gotten him a 6-pack or something, huh?" Keith chuckled awkwardly. I walked past them into the kitchen, opened the fridge. Empty, except for beer and one sad slice of leftover pizza. No cake, no card. Not even a, "Hey, wanna hang out?" I stared at the fridge door, and for some reason, the thing that broke me was the fact that Mom's magnet, the one she'd had since I was 10 that said "family first always," had fallen off and was under the cabinet. It was upside down. I didn't confront them that night. I booked a hotel room downtown for 2 nights, told work I needed a couple days off, packed a duffel, locked my bedroom, and walked out without saying goodbye. But here's the twist. When I came back Wednesday to grab a few more things, Jaden was in my room, on my computer, reading the document. The one titled, "Things I've Paid For Without Being Asked." He didn't even look guilty, just turned around and said, "This is what you do when you don't feel loved, huh? Keep receipts?" That's when I finally snapped. "Receipts?" I said. "You're damn right I keep receipts, because that's all I get in this house. Transactions, not relationships." Jaden rolled his eyes. "You've always been so dramatic, Marcus. Everything's a lecture. Maybe people would like you more if you chilled the hell out." I didn't say another word, didn't scream, didn't cry. I walked downstairs, picked up my phone, and made the call I'd been avoiding for weeks. "Hi, this is Marcus Delaney. I'd like to list my property for sale." 3 days after I called the realtor, the "for sale" sign went up in the yard. Right where Dad planted that stupid bird bath he never cleaned. I told them over text. I figured if I had to explain why I was selling my own house to the people who've been living in it rent-free for 3 years, they weren't going to hear it anyway. Jaden didn't respond. Dad replied with, "You've lost your damn mind. We'll talk when I get home." That night, I got home first. They were both already waiting. Dad was planted in the recliner, arms crossed, TV muted, face already red. Jaden was pacing behind the couch, looking like he wanted to throw something but couldn't decide what. "You want to explain this little stunt?" Dad said, jerking his thumb toward the sign outside. "It's not a stunt. It's a sale. Closing date's in 30 days. You didn't even ask, Jaden snapped. I tilted my head. Ask who? Dad slammed the recliner forward and stood up. You think you can just kick your own father out? After everything I've done for you? I'd heard that line so many times growing up, it barely registered. But this time, I was ready. I pulled a folder from my work bag, sat down at the dining table, and opened it like a damn courtroom exhibit. Here's the mortgage schedule. Here's the utilities, groceries, truck payments. That $1,400 grill you swore you'd pay back? Still unpaid. Jaden's credit card? Remember that emergency payment I made to keep the lights on for his startup that never happened? Yeah, that was $3,100. I flipped through a few more pages. You want to talk about what you've done for me? Let's start there. Jaden scoffed. Wow, keeping receipts like some bitter ex. You're not even embarrassed, are you? I looked him dead in the face. You've never paid for a single goddamn thing under this roof, and you still think you're entitled to have an opinion? Dad banged the table. That's enough. You're not better than us just because you have a decent paycheck. I stared at him for a long second. You're right. A paycheck doesn't make me better. But being used for 3 years and finally standing up for myself? That might. And that's when the real bomb dropped. Dad leaned back and said, calm as a priest in confession. You think this house is yours? Son, this was your mother's insurance money. She wanted a home for us, not just you. I felt like someone kicked me in the chest. What? I whispered. She left you the policy because you were the only one with a clean credit score. But she told me, explicitly, that the money was meant for the family. All of us. I couldn't breathe for a second. My brain scrambled back to the week after Mom's funeral, when I got the check in the mail. When Dad said, you handle it. You're better with numbers. I thought she left it to me because I was the responsible one. I never questioned it. You're lying, I said, but my voice cracked. Jaden jumped in like a hyena smelling weakness. She didn't trust you to blow it all on some solo apartment with blackout curtains and sad bachelor energy. She trusted me to build stability. I snapped back. No, Dad said. She trusted you to take care of your family, and now you're selling the house she built for us. And here's the twist. I opened my laptop, pulled up an audio file, and hit play. Hey, Marcus, I know how your dad gets. If he ever tries to guilt you about the insurance, I need you to remember something. I left it in your name for a reason. Don't let them take it from you. It was my mom's voice, clear as day, recorded on a voicemail she left me 3 weeks before she died. I'd forgotten I still had it, but I'd found it the night after Jaden called me a receipt-keeping freak. My dad's mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Jaden turned white. I paused the recording, looked at both of them. I'm selling the house, I said again. You have 30 days. Then I stood up, walked upstairs, and locked the door. And for the first time in years, I slept like a rock. After I played Mom's voicemail, the one where she made it very clear the insurance money was left to me on purpose, the silence in that room was unreal. Dad sat down like his knees buckled under him. Jaden looked like he wanted to disappear into the wall. I'd never had that much power in a room before. Not with them. And for once, I didn't rush to fill the silence. I let it sit. I let them squirm in it. Then I stood up, looked them both in the eye, and said, You have 30 days. Use them well. I thought they'd come back begging, maybe try to apologize, maybe throw out some half-assed, we didn't mean it like that nonsense. But no, they doubled down. 3 days later, I got home from work to find the locks changed. I'm not kidding. I put my key in the front door, my door, and it wouldn't turn. I knocked. Once. Twice. Nothing. Jaden finally opened it and just smirked. Oh, you didn't get Dad's message? What the hell is this? He said you're acting unstable. He's not comfortable with you being here until you calm down. You realize this is my house, right? Legally, financially, all of it. Jaden leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. That's not what Dad says. He says Mom left it for all of us. I stared at him. You heard the voicemail. He shrugged. Voicemails can be faked. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about pride anymore. They were trying to beat me at my own game. So I called my lawyer the next morning. And I didn't just ask about eviction. I asked about trespassing. Turns out, since I had the deed, and they weren't paying rent or on any lease, they weren't tenants. They were squatters, and I had the right to remove them immediately if they interfered with the sale or my ability to access the property. We filed papers that same day. The sheriff posted a notice on the door 48 hours later. I wasn't there for that part, but I heard from the neighbor across the street that Dad damn near had a stroke when he saw the notice. Still, I gave them one last out. I texted Jaden. I'll pay for a moving truck and a motel for 1 week if you're out by Friday. After that, I'm pressing charges. No reply. Friday came. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. I walk in with the realtor and the stager, just doing prep for the open house, and the living room is empty, like cleared out. Couch, gone. TV, gone. Bookshelves, gone. Even the damn refrigerator was gone. I walked into the bathroom. The mirror was missing. They'd taken everything they could unscrew, unplug, or rip off the wall, including the washer and dryer, which I'd bought brand new 6 months earlier. At first, I froze. Then I laughed. And then I did the pettiest, coldest thing I've ever done in my life. I called the police and reported a burglary. Because that's what it was. They didn't own a single item in that house, not a receipt to be found. And remember that voicemail? The one Jaden said could be fake? Yeah. I'd backed it up. Sent a copy to my lawyer, who had already included it in our case file. Within a week, the police had tracked them down, camping out in Jaden's friend's garage in Bastrop, with half my appliances still in the back of a borrowed trailer. And here's the twist. Jaden got arrested. Because guess what? He had a prior record. That online business he ran for 2 months back in 2020, he used it to buy and resell stolen electronics. The charges had been dropped back then, but now he was tied to another theft case. And this time with my signature on every receipt showing ownership of what he stole. I didn't press charges on Dad. I didn't need to. The shame alone was enough. But Jaden? He's got a court date next month. And me? I've got an offer on the house. All cash. $40,000 over asking. I signed the papers this morning. And when I handed the pen back to my agent, she asked if I was sad. I smiled. No, I said. I'm just finally done playing small to make room for people who never saw me anyway. The morning the movers came, I made coffee one last time in that kitchen. I stood there barefoot on the tile I paid to have replaced after Dad cracked it, accidentally, with a dumbbell he never used again. Every cabinet, every wall had my fingerprints on it. And yet, none of it felt like mine anymore. When the truck pulled into the driveway, Dad was still in his robe, standing at the window like a man watching a prison bus pull up. Jaden didn't come out of his room. I didn't ask them to help load anything. I didn't even say goodbye. I just handed the keys to Natalie, my realtor, and signed the final document. The house was officially sold, the check cleared, and I drove away without a single glance in the rearview mirror. Denver was crisp and quiet. My new apartment wasn't big, but it was mine. No dirty socks in the living room. No yelling matches through walls. No tension pressing into my chest like a seatbelt that wouldn't loosen. I had silence. And for the first time in years, it wasn't scary. Gabriel, my neighbor, knocked on my door the third night I moved in. Said he smelled something burning and wanted to make sure I wasn't torching the place. I laughed so hard I choked on my tea. We've been close ever since. Not romantic, at least not yet. But peaceful, kind, real. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Heather, my cousin on Mom's side. "You might want to sit down," she said. Apparently, after I left, Dad and Jaden stayed with one of his old friends in Bastrop. It lasted 6 days. Jaden made himself at home, blew through the guy's groceries, didn't clean up. Dad got into a shouting match with the neighbor's teenage son because he looked disrespectful. The friend kicked them out. They tried staying in a cheap motel, but the card Dad used was one of the ones I'd taken my name off when I left. Declined. Heather said they'd been calling around asking for couches to crash on, and word was getting around. Their circle, the small one they had, was shrinking. Fast. Then came the part I didn't expect. A week after that call, I got an email from Jaden. Subject line: "You were right. It was short. Barely 4 lines. You were right about all of it. About him. About me. I thought if I stayed close to him, he'd finally see me, but he never will. I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted you to know I get it now." I didn't know how to respond. Still don't. I haven't written back. Because part of healing is knowing which bridges are worth rebuilding and which ones are safer burned. A few nights ago, I stood out on my balcony watching the first snow dust the city. Gabriel came out with 2 mugs and handed me one without saying anything. We just stood there, warm drinks in hand, the cold biting our skin in the best kind of way. And I realized something. For years, I measured love by how much I gave, how much I could carry. But peace? Peace came when I finally set it down. The lesson I've learned? Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for family is let them learn to stand without you. And sometimes the deepest kind of forgiveness is staying silent when they try to reopen a door they once slammed shut. If you've ever had to walk away from family just to protect your self-worth, I'd truly love to hear your story in the comments. And if you're still learning how to choose yourself first, stick around. There's so much we still need to say out loud.